in a wacky age, don't we? You know, we used to only get the Shonen Jump series that people cared about, like the popular stuff. They weren't always good, but you know, there was a reason we would get them. But now we got the new Shonen Jump thing going on. Viz is just translating all the series. About 6 months ago, I made a video where I talked about this new service, talked about a bunch of the new series while I thought about them, my thoughts on some of the current series. So this video will serve as a follow-up to that. In the past 6 months, a lot has happened in the magazine. A lot of series have been cancelled. A lot of brand new series have started. Enough new series that I think it's time to make another one of these. But before moving on to the new stuff, what's been going on here? Now, currently, I am up to date with 5 Shonen Jump series, those being My Hero, Promised Neverland, Dr. Stone, Chainsaw Man, and We Never Learn. I love all of those series. Chainsaw Man is the only, like, newer series that I've really kept up with. It's really, really good. As you remember, it started with the launch of this service last December, along with Neolation and Hellwarden, 2 series that both got canned pretty early on. Now, if you remember, I wasn't a big fan of Neolation. Definitely see why that got cancelled. I did kind of like Hellwarden, though. I definitely fell off of it after a few chapters. I was hoping to jump back in maybe later if it got picked up, and it didn't, and it's gone now. It's always kind of sad to see a series get cancelled, even if you know it was trash, because, you know, someone did put a lot of time and effort into it, but I also see it as a bit of a positive, because for one, you're getting a shitty series out of the magazine, and it can serve as a bit of a wake-up call for that artist to be like, hey, no one likes this, do something else that's actually good. You know, a good example of that would, of course, be Barrage being shit, and then My Hero being a huge phenomenon. Oh, and Food Wars got cancelled too. Yeah, Food Wars has not been doing well recently. I've only read like half of the manga that's out now, but yeah, I've been hearing some pretty nasty things about current Food Wars, and that kind of went out with a whimper. So yeah, Shonen Jump's been going pretty crazy with the new series. I'm pretty sure this is what it's always been like, but it's the first time we've really been kept super in the loop by getting all of these series officially translated the same day as Japan. First one we're going to talk about is The Last Sayuki. What the fuck? This is some ass right here. Now, I've only read 1 chapter of this manga, and I read it a few months ago when it first came out, but I did find it very revolting. So revolting that at one point I was going to make a full video on it, but thankfully no one voted for that, so we good. It's about this little kid. He's like 8 years old, which even for Jump is like super young. He's not like a genius kid like Promised Neverland either. Like, he's a fucking annoying little brat. And one day his dad's like, hey, we're taking care of this crippled girl now, and also she's like a god or something, and she can kill people, and we gotta fight off spirits. Honestly, it's kind of a blur now, but yeah, this one is definitely not lasting much longer. It has been at the bottom of the table of contents for weeks now. I would be absolutely shocked if this lasts to the end of the summer. Next one is Eat Cameo Let's Loose. This is a new manga from the guy who made Nura, Rise of the Yokai Clan, which is a series I know absolutely nothing about. And this one, I stopped reading after 10 pages. I don't know what this was. There's some girl with like a split personality, and there's this guy he's like, oh, I'm too good for the ladies because, oh, all the girls, they're so boring, they all look the same. I'll never find a girl who matches my needs. Meh. And then he instantly sees this girl and falls in love with her or something, like she beats his ass, and it's like, haha. And then she like puts her hair up and she's like someone else. I'm like, yeah, nope, not for me, skip. This next one is called Tokyo Shinobi Squad. I wish I were making that up. That sounds like you got a robot to name a new Shonen Jump series. This is a dystopian cyberpunk future manga, and you got Shinobi. That's about it. I read 3 chapters of this. I don't know. I don't. That's it. Nothing about this series stands out to me at all. Like, it's just the most by-the-numbers setup for this type of story I've ever seen. You have this stupid kid who joins a Shinobi squad because they're looking to find some bullshit. I don't know. This is probably the most popular new series, besides, of course, the last one that we're going to talk about. And I don't really see why. I don't really understand what people see in this one. But, you know, if people like it, if it takes off, well, whatever, good for them. I'd kind of be okay with it continuing just to see if we figure out what that Justin Bieber thing was. That was pretty funny. Did this dude like murder Justin Bieber or something? So yeah, after reading this one, I was kind of curious to see what people thought about it, and holy shit. Did we read the same thing? What are you guys talking about? And now, I'm no expert on politics, but apparently people think that this manga is like made for white supremacists or something? I'm so confused. What are people on about? Viz even had to jump in to moderate these comments. They got so out of control. Sure, the new dystopian future is shitty, might resemble like a fascist government, but no one is saying that that's a good thing. It's just the shitty setting the story takes place in. Stop wasting your time on this mediocre manga that will probably get cancelled soon. Jesus. But what's more likely to get cancelled soon? Double Taisei. This is a shogi manga. Shogi, for those who don't know, it's a popular Japanese board game. It's kind of like chess, where, you know, you have all these smart people playing it, and they have leagues and tournaments and all that fun stuff. You have this dude who's a professional shogi player. But oh surprise, he has a split personality. Every time he goes to sleep and wakes up, he becomes an asshole. Like a complete dickwad. What stood out to me from this first chapter was that it didn't feel like a complete first chapter. It was really weird. Like, you know how most manga in their first chapter, they tell like a mini story. Like they have a conflict, they resolve it, they introduce the characters, and they give you a hook to keep reading. This first chapter was like half of that. Like they're about to start a shogi game or something, and then it just ends. I'm like, oh, that was it? Well, why do I want to keep reading? Like, I don't care. I don't care about any of these people yet. So the first chapter was kind of a failure, but I kept reading, and I'm very confused. Was the double personality thing from the first chapter horribly received or something? Because then they immediately pretty much straight up kill one of the personalities. Like, he falls down the stairs, gets knocked out, and he wakes up as the other dude, the asshole guy. And then the other guy never wakes up again. I mean, I don't know if he'll come back later or not, but it just felt really weird. I'm like, what was the point of having double personalities in the first place if you're just gonna get rid of them immediately? But yeah, this one, I mean, it doesn't help that I don't know a thing about shogi, but it's mainly the story and all the split personality bullshit with the characters. Yeah, nope. The next one is Beast Children, which is surprisingly my favorite of all of these new series. But that really isn't saying much. This is a rugby manga. Already, probably not my thing. I don't know shit about rugby. And it just seems like a pretty generic setup. You know, there's this kid, he wants to be a professional rugby player. He meets this guy who is the son of a professional rugby player that he really looked up to, who unfortunately passed away. And he's trying to get his son to teach him how to play rugby, and the son wants nothing to do with him. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. You know, the kid's a bit annoying and all this shit, but, you know, it was serviceable. But I won't lie, what happened in the next chapter made me very, very happy. You see, this kid's harassing this dude, the son of a dead rugby player, and he just won't stop. He's just constantly on his ass. He's trying to figure out what high school he's going to go to so he can go to the same high school as him, and they can learn rugby together or whatever. So the kid's like training for rugby, trying to prove his worth to this guy, and at the end he's like, you know what, kid, you can make a great rugby player after all. Here's the high school I'm going to. So then it cuts through his high school entrance ceremony, and it turns out the guy completely bullshitted him, gave him the wrong high school, so he purposefully sent the kid to another high school. That was actually great. Like the next chapter, he starts his practice. You have his teacher, Mr. Beast. Literally, that's his name, Mr. Beast. And yeah, this one doesn't seem terrible. If you're a fan of rugby, I'd probably check it out, but it's still probably not for me. I might give it a couple more chapters, but yeah, not too big on this one. But like I said, it's probably the best out of all these new series. Okay, we have one more to talk about, and oh boy, Masashi Kishimoto is back, baby! Bring on the hype, am I right? Samurai 8 is here, and if it's not the most underwhelming thing I've ever read, I don't know what is. So we've known for a very long time that Kishimoto was coming back to Shonen Jump with a new manga, and I was kind of skeptical about his return, because of course, as we all know, Naruto kind of shit the bed in its final few years, but I personally always chalk that up to, you know, him either being pressured by the editors to continue, he kind of lost his passion for it, and I felt that with almost 5 years between the end of Naruto and the start of Samurai 8, he could come up with a pretty good story, and I did become a bit more optimistic when we found out that the story, he was only planning on it being like 10 or so volumes. Now obviously, author predictions are usually wrong and it'll go for a bit longer than that, but you know, with how Shonen Jump doesn't really make series go on for longer than they need to anymore, I can definitely see it being like maybe 20 volumes max, so that was pretty cool. And then we learned about the premise. This boy named Hachimaru, who's a cripple, like this dude can't do shit. He has this really bad disease, his bones break, he has to be connected to this life support machine. I thought that was a really cool idea for a battle manga. I don't think we've ever seen a protagonist like this heavily disabled. And I'm thinking, like, what could they do with this? That this could actually be really interesting. Then chapter 1 comes out. People are treating this like it's the second coming of Christ. All these hype live reactions, people to saying it already has the potential to be one of the best manga ever. I am so convinced that this is only because Kishimoto wrote it. If he were not attached to this, say he wrote this in secret and had a pen name, I don't think anyone would be giving a shit about Samurai 8 right now. Because it is so bland. You have this kid, Hachimaru, like I said, he was a cripple. I was really excited to see what they would do with that. This cat guy comes down, he's like, hey man, I'm a samurai, I'm cool. You're a cripple, you can't be a samurai. But then these evil dudes show up, and they're threatening his dad. He's like, no, you stay away from my dad. Then he fucking seppukus himself, and the cat guy is like, you know what, you have what it takes to be a samurai, resurrects them. Now he's all better, he's an all-powerful samurai, and he beats their asses. This was such a generic start to a series like this that I actually predicted most of it a few weeks before it came out. And yeah, nothing has really happened. I've read all that's out. He goes around town, he meets this girl and plays video games with her, then he beats up some guys, and now he's just doing some training. Nothing's happening. There's no hook, there's no reason I want to keep reading this. It's by no means a terrible series, but I really just don't see anything that's really great about it. I think certain aspects like the world have potential to be expanded or whatever, but I really don't care. Everything I've seen has just been so mediocre so far. Oh my god, and the art is disgusting. Oh my god. Now don't get me wrong, Akira Okubo, this artist, he can draw. He can draw pretty well. If you didn't know, he's actually the brother of one of my favorite mangaka, Atsushi Okubo. But the problem isn't with his individual drawings, it's with the manga itself. Because these pages are so messy. What am I even looking at here? All of the line width is the same, there's no depth, every single piece of negative space is filled with something. I just find it to be very ugly to look at. I know other people might disagree here. I think in color the manga looks really good because you can actually differentiate things. But yeah, it does look pretty whack. Now, I'm not the only one who thinks these things about Samurai 8. It seems like it's every day there's more and more people wait a minute, this actually isn't very good. Well, what the fuck? And then of course, people are always coming out arguing, now wait a minute, it is only start, you gotta give it room to breathe. For Neverworld's out here saying, hey, this is where Naruto was after a few chapters, don't clown on Samurai 8. I'm like, what are you talking about? Naruto was great at the start. That scene with Naruto and Sasuke, that's funny as shit. Naruto does a great job setting up its world, setting up its characters, making them likable, regardless of where the series goes later. I've said this many times before, but if your series doesn't start off good, people have no obligation to keep reading it. Sure, things get better as they go on, that's how stories generally work, but if your series starts off lame, no one's gonna want to keep reading to see if it eventually gets good. And not only can you apply that to Samurai 8, but really all of these series that I talked about today. Now this has been a very mediocre year so far for new Shonen Jump series. Nothing really hits out of any of these. I think Samurai 8 is obviously going to survive just because of the names attached. But as for the others, I would not be surprised at all if they all get cancelled. And if they do, hopefully that will leave more room to more talented artists coming in with really good ideas, shake things up. I'm always excited for the next Promised Neverland, the next Dr. Stone, something that really breaks the mold. But looks like we will still be waiting for a good while. So with that, thank you all so much for watching. You can leave your thoughts on any of the series I talked about in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next video.